All right, we are back with you live on another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Oh wow, we're back finally, and the intro doesn't work. Isn't that always the way? But that's sort of par for the course around here, right? We've got to have our problems and technical difficulties, but we are back after what was a 2 month hiatus. Could it really have been 2 months? Ah, man, I missed you guys, and unfortunately, just didn't have the time. You know how long it takes to set up a show like this? All the research I have to do and everything. It took me literally 2 days to get everything up to snuff now to do this broadcast. Oh, sometimes I feel I must go mad. But we are here with you again on another Johnny Torch Live broadcast. We are on broadcast number 256, Torch News Roundup number 293. We're going to talk all the pop culture things that have gone on in the past 2 months since I did my Cobra Kai part 1 of season 6 video review. It is 10:07 in the PM here on the East Coast on a Saturday night. So I want to thank everybody who is tuning in. I know you got a lot of other options for a Saturday night, which you could be doing, but you're here with yours truly, the man, the legend, Johnny Torch here, sitting highly atop the fair metropolis below in stately Torch Tower. And we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that I missed basically in the past couple of months. Now I have time. I have all the time in the world, so I could go on all night. Don't think that I can't. I promise you I can. I'm going to get all this stuff in the show done that I have all set in my notes here. So sit back, get your jammies on, have a little ice cold beverage and your snacks. And we're going to go through some of the stuff that's been going on lately here that I haven't been able to cover. And if you're watching this on rebroadcast, uh, thank you just as much. Now, first of all, I got to say all the things, the like, the share, the subscribe. I want to thank everybody. I've got 323 subscribers now, which is great because for a while I was starting to lose some subscribers, but we've got a few back. We've got a few more, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if you've already liked, shared, and subscribed, there is something else you could do that would be very beneficial to the channel. Head on over to Odyssey and like and follow over there on Odyssey because they are not syncing my videos anymore because they're saying that I'm not giving enough attention over to Odyssey. So my side piece is Odyssey. I really like to keep that going where they'll sync up my videos. So if you would be so kind, if you're so inclined, head on over to Odyssey and make sure you follow. Watch a couple videos there, like a couple videos there. That would go a long way in getting my channel to continue to sync up, and I won't have any difficulties keeping that channel or over on that site thriving as well. All right, so let's see. We got to do a little bit more housework here before we get into the main event of the show. First off, we always got to talk about Bullets Bourbon Comics. I'm not sure if I've debuted the cover of our next issue, but we're going to debut it today. The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, case book number 13. This is what we're calling our second season opener, and it's called Against All Odds. And we have the general who we've been building up all this time now has a name, General Diesel, and he is the head of the Vicious Battery Pack. Now, we're not going to talk about that too much tonight because we got so much other stuff to talk about. But we will do a proper show on that to just go into all the characters that you're going to be seeing. Of course, we see Veronica Sinclair is back. I'm very excited to see her involved as well. A character that I enjoyed a lot. And Bullets looks like he's in some difficulty here. He's in dire straits with his most powerful villain. He has the strength of 10 men, if not more. I don't think it's been verified. Whatever he hits, he destroys, as someone famously said. And this is a real good story, I have to admit. This is one of my favorite stories. And part of the reason for the YouTube channel is to showcase the book. So if you haven't checked out any of our books, look in the link in the description below. You can see my website. You can get a taster of some of the storylines that we've done. Our first 5 books. We've got 5 story arcs. I would like to be able to get the the last 2 story arcs in a graphic novel form, but I don't think that's going to be possible. I would like to be able to also get some more traffic over on Global Comics. So if you're not inclined to get a regular paper copy, probably the best thing to do would be go over to Global Comics and you can check us out right there. All of our issues are up. If you go to Indie Planet, unfortunately, they are slow as molasses and they do not have the most recent issue up, Nursery Crimes. Go to Global Comics and you'll find that. And you get a couple of pages. I think there's like 3 free preview pages, not counting the cover. And, get a little taste of what's to come in the Bolts Bourbon universe. As I said, really excited about this issue. This is going to be a great story. This is one of my favorites that I've ever written. And I know it's kind of cliche because all writers feel like each one of these stories is my children. I have no favorites, but in a way, I really was satisfied with this story more so than a lot of the others. And again, this one is not available yet, but this is the one we're working on now. I always hype up the next issue so that you could be waiting breathlessly for the next 6 months as I continue to go through it. If you're curious and you're not too keen on waiting, you can click the other link that's in the description, which is my Twitter page. Head on over to my Twitter page, and I am now a blue checkmark member of the community. Yes, I'm giving Elon Musk my hard-earned money, but he's supporting Trump, so I can't complain. And if you go over to the highlight tab, you will also see all the sort of character entries for the battery pack, the new villains for this one. So you'll get a taste of what they're all about. And of course, stay tuned to my website. We're going to be putting some more info such as that up on the website. But yeah, that's part of the reason for my absence. As I always say, the Johnny Torch Live broadcast, the only way to spend your Saturday. And I spend a lot of my Saturdays doing the show, but unfortunately, well, or fortunately, the way you look at it, my time has to be taken up in different areas. I'm doing a lot of campaigning for Trump. That's taking up a lot of my free time on my days off, such as today. But I did make sure that I put some time aside tonight to be with you, my favorite people in the world, my fans. And hopefully we can get some interesting topics going here. I got a lot to cover, so I better get straight to it. And again, one last time, if you are really a friend of the show, a friend of the channel, you like what I do, pick up a book, pick up a digital copy, leave a tip or something on Global Comics, whatever you choose to do would be very much appreciated. It'll keep me incentivized to continue making content for you guys. And that is something that I really would like to spend more time doing. So, all right, let us go on now. We've got a mailbag segment. This has been a couple of weeks, so I've got a few mailbag entries here. Now, as it goes, whenever I do a video and somebody leaves something in the comments, I always read it on the next broadcast or a subsequent broadcast. All right, so first up, we've got a new sub, Zena Wogman. So, Zena, if you're watching, thank you for subscribing. And I don't get to see all the new subs because some people don't have their subs made public, but if you have your subs made public, I'll always very gratefully acknowledge you on the show. Next up, we have a comment from Jason Gibson, I believe is how it's pronounced, 8114 from a month ago. Now, one of my most popular videos is the Wonder Woman tribute that I did for Linda Carter's TV show. So I get a lot of comments on that. I think when I did that video like 10 years ago, it was one of the first videos that ever, was a retrospective on the Linda Carter Wonder Woman show. So I get a lot of comments on that. It's one of my most popular videos. So check it out if you haven't seen it. But Jason Gibson says Kathy Lee is very fire. I liked her as Wonder Woman. Well, I said on the video I wasn't particularly fond of her version of Wonder Woman. I mean, it's not really Kathy Lee Crosby's fault so much as they didn't really do the comic book version of Wonder Woman. They did that with Linda Carter, and of course, Linda Carter looks more like Wonder Woman than Kathy Lee Crosby did, so she had that advantage too. Um, I seen it like once. I think Ricardo Montalban plays the villain shortly before he was on Fantasy Island. This was like part of the proposed Wonder Woman series they were going to do, and of course, for good reason, it failed the original pilot, and they went with a more accurate origin and storyline. And of course, Linda Carter is goes down in history as one of the greatest from comic to live action castings. I mean, her and Christopher Reeve is probably the gold standard for accurate casting. So, it was for the best that Kathy Lee didn't quite pan out for Wonder Woman because we got Linda Carter. All right, so thank you for the comment. Then we go down to 3 weeks ago. Janet Gregory, FJ1PM, leaves a comment on the Wonder Woman video. I was 9 years old in 1975 when the show first came on. Wonder Woman always my favorite superhero growing up. Well, thank you for the comment, Janet. And yeah, like I said, that was probably the most, I don't think, it's without a doubt the most iconic version of Wonder Woman, the Linda Carter version. I don't think they ever did Wonder Woman as much justice in animated style or in her Gal Gadot movies. I mean, Gal Gadot movies were, you know, good tries. I'll give them that much. But I just feel like there was really nothing. And she, like I said, Linda Carter's Wonder Woman is basically up there with Christopher Reeve's Superman. You really can't improve on that, no matter how hard you try. Now, some come close, like in uh, the David Cornswit version that's going to be coming out. I have high hopes for that. It looks very good, and the actor looks very good. So, I mean, I'm not the type of person that's going to say, well, don't even bother trying to make another Superman movie because Christopher Reeve is going to be the end of it. But you really have to acknowledge when they made perfection. And when they did it with Christopher Reeve and then when they did it with Linda Carter, they got it pitch perfect. They got the character perfect. They got that world perfect. They got the actor perfect. So you can't take that away from them, that they're always going to be the gold standard. So again, thank you for the mailbag questions and comments, and I'll always bring those up whenever I get them. So thank you very much. Next up, we're going to go to some of the trailers that I missed. A few weeks ago, we got a Thunderbolts trailer. I don't know. I really don't know what to think about this. I mean, we talked about this before, I think, when the trailer synopsis or whatever leaked. And it's not really something that's all that appealing. I imagine it's the Suicide Squad for Marvel characters. These are anti-heroes, in some cases villains, that are kind of banding together under um what's her name, this character, I can't remember this character's name. Julie Louise Dreyfus, of course, playing the actress. She's sort of the Amanda Waller, so to speak, of these characters who are sort of on probation and have to, sort of get their sentence commuted by doing so many good deeds. Now, what this film has in its favor is it's got a lot of characters that I liked. I mean, I liked Ghost. I thought she was an interesting villain for Ant-Man. David Harbour was fun as the Red Guardian. Um, you know, U.S. Agent was okay. I mean, I think he looks more fun here in this trailer than he did in Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I guess is a good thing. Taskmaster, I didn't like at all. So, I mean, they could have done without her. The stars being Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes slash the Winter Soldier, and Florence Pugh as the new Black Widow. There's sort of the drawing point of this, I guess. Um, I really like Bucky. I like to see more being done with him. I don't know if they're going to really do justice with him here. He seems kind of like an afterthought in this trailer. It's mostly a showcase for Black Widow or Black Widow Jr. I don't know what we're going to call her. I guess Black Widow is technically what she's going to be called. But Yelena is sort of feeling unfulfilled. Her 9 to 5 job is basically killing people, and she's kind of tiring of it. And of course, Red Guardian is her adoptive father, and she's sort of explaining how she's not really satisfied with the gig anymore. Not much of the story is revealed. All we see is that she's out killing people, and a lot of um, a lot of to do going on with the rest of the team. Initially fighting each other, and I really don't know what to make of it. Sentry is apparently the guy that they're trying to. It kind of reminds me of the original Suicide Squad, right? With Enchantress, it's like sort of like it's built around trying to find Sentry, I guess. I don't know, but it comes out May next year. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll probably see it. Everything that Marvel has got on the docket really is not that exciting right now. So, I mean, they've got Captain America, quote unquote, coming out what is it, February? And the only draw to that really is if you want to see Harrison Ford turn into the Red Hulk. Quite honestly, that's the only thing that film's got going for it. I think there's rumors, of course, abounding with that film as well, that they're on like their third do-over with it. They basically took it back to formula, if you will, and trying to find a film in there somewhere that's going to please fans. It really doesn't look all that exciting, and again, the only hook really is to see Red Hulk as portrayed by Harrison Ford. There's the angle of course, I think Serba is the name of the Israeli hero, and of course, with the climate being what it is, with the anti-Israeli sentiments in America, which I personally think is ridiculous, but there's a lot of that sentiment going around, and they're afraid that the movie's in a tank on that alone because these chowder heads are going to stay away because they don't want to see an Israeli hero. Uh, I don't know if, at least according to rumor, they have removed a lot of that emphasis on that character being Jewish, being from Israel. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about Thunderbolts? And just what do you think of the current situation here? And for the record, no, I'm not watching Agatha all along. I know that they're desperately trying to link it up to WandaVision and Vision Quest, which I guess is the third piece of the puzzle. And I don't know. I mean, unless basically, Elizabeth Olsen shows up or Paul Bettany, I would think maybe Elizabeth Olsen is more likely. I probably won't tune into any of that, but it just doesn't look very interesting to me. I mean, I felt the same way about Ms. Marvel. If I felt it was worth it, and like I don't think I need to see it. It doesn't seem like it's must see to me. I don't know. All right, let's go on to our next one here. The next video trailer that I wanted to bring up here was we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Sonic 3, of course, brings back Jim Carrey as Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Carrey, of course, saying he was going to retire after Sonic 2, and apparently they coaxed him back. They got him back in the robo chair, or whatever you want to call it, for Sonic 3. And my dearest wish was granted, where apparently he's put on some weight, probably a prosthetic, but so we are going to have the fat Robotnik. Apparently, it looks like they didn't go with a comically fat Robotnik, which is what I was kind of hoping for. One that like basically has a humongous belly. But apparently, it looks like they're going to try to make him look more like the comic and video game character. And of course, Shadow is, I guess, really the main nemesis in this film, played by Keanu Reeves. They got him as Shadow. Shadow is uh, sort of the dark opposite of Sonic. They try to play that up in the trailer. I don't know a whole lot about these characters because I haven't kept up with Sonic since the '90s series from Archie, where they carried on with the Princess Sally and all those characters, which I wish they would have adapted that to movies. That would have been fun. But I mean, so I don't really know how Shadow fits into the Sonic universe. All this is like going to be new to me and very interesting. But uh, Robotnik Senior apparently is in this too, played by Jim Carrey. And again, I'm kind of at a loss for that. I don't really know how that character fits into this, but uh, Jim Carrey playing two parts and both of them Robotniks. I mean, that's must see right there. This was the best trailer of the lot that we're going to be doing today. Well, it's tied with one. We'll get to that other one later. But this one really looks good. This looks like it's going to be the best Sonic yet. And you know why? It's because there seems like they're focusing more on the Sonic world. Like the first movie, it's 75% real world, 25% Sonic. The second movie was like sort of 50-50. This one looks like it's going to be 75% Sonic's world and, you know, 25%, maybe even less if you look at it the final analysis with the real world. So that's what I was kind of hoping we were going to get away from with these movies when they make all right Smurfs and they have to get out of like Smurf Village and go to everyday normal life. And they've done that with like everything. And it's like I just want to stay in the world that the characters belong in. I really don't see why we have to take them into the real world. Usually it's like for budgetary reasons. They do that with the first movie, and when they make a lot of money, then they're like, "Oh, okay, we can sort of expand this." So I mean, in a way I get it, but it kind of takes longer to get there when you wish that they would start on, you know, level 3 instead of having to work their way up. But yeah, Jim Carrey looks like he's going to be great in this one. He looks funny, and of course they got Idris Elba back as Knuckles. I haven't seen the Knuckles TV show. Apparently they did a short series to bridge the second movie and the third movie. And Sonic and Tails, of course, reunited in this one. So it looks like it's going to be a winner to me. This one comes out at the tail end of December. So it'll make your Christmas dreams come true, hopefully, if you are a Sonic fan. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 this Christmas? All right, next up, we're entering the Marvel universe. This is technically the Marvel Sony universe, where we go from Sonic 3 to Venom 3, The Last Dance. Now that sounds very cryptically like they're going to do away with Eddie and or Venom. I was watching the first two Venom movies earlier this month just to get reacclimated to the Sony Venom universe. And I really liked those films. I thought they were great. I think, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball, not fleshing out Carnage and his motives a little more. That was kind of bound to happen because I guess they wanted to focus on Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harold, Woody Harrelson, and sort of all that. But I don't know. This movie, the trailer of Venom: The Last Dance, it's kind of problematic to me in a way because the thing about Venom 2 that was also very good was it felt very much like the natural sequel. You know what I mean? It felt like it flowed in from the first one straight to the second one. This one doesn't feel like it has anything to do whatsoever with the first two movies. Anything whatsoever. This seems like it's just like a completely different animal. Um, Anne and her boyfriend or whatever are not in the trailer. I think we get what's her name, Mrs. Chan. I think she shows up briefly for like a cameo, but I mean, we really don't have any feeling of this had anything to do with the first two movies. And I think that's a mistake if they go there. One of the big questions was, is he going to get Anne back? Because she's engaged, but I mean, he's the hero of the piece. You think maybe eventually he'd get her back. I don't know if that's going to happen now. They've got another woman in the trailer apparently going to be the leading lady, although I don't think there's any time for romance with Venom. You know what I mean? These two guys, they're the odd couple, and they got each other. That's all they need, I guess. And Chiwetel Ejiofor, I believe, is also in it. If I remember correctly, seeing in the trailer as sort of it's sort of like a buddy road picture where I guess you know how in the back in the day we had Hope and Crosby, and they would be traveling and wind up somewhere. I don't know. This is what it seems like they're trying to do here, where it's Eddie and Venom on the road in the desert, and they're trying to outrun the army, and they've got uh, I don't know what it is, some kind of symbiote monster chasing them, and Null, I guess, is the big bad of the symbiote universe, and I don't know. I again, I'm not too versed in Venom lore to know that kind of stuff. All I know is Carnage, and he was a big character in the '90s, and of course, I remember all that. But it's going to be interesting. But I really hope it's tethered to the first two films because I don't know. It just feels like I don't know. And of course, the question is: are they going to kill off Eddie? Are they going to kill off Venom? It's called The Last Dance for a reason, probably. So you imagine maybe one of them goes, maybe both of them go. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think they're going to survive The Last Dance? And this is, of course, totally rumor and speculation, but there's been rumors going on that they said there's going to be two lengthy post credit scenes that are going to, I don't know, supposedly lead into Spider Man 4. And I think the lead in is that Eddie and Venom, or maybe just Venom, is going to find himself on the world with Tom Holland's Spider Man, and they're going to be meeting or clashing or something. I don't know. I find it hard to believe because we had the perfect setup with the where did that actually show up? Was it Infinity War? No, what was it? Was it the Carnage movie? I forget. But they set it up that he was going to finally meet Tom Holland Spider Man. Didn't happen. He wound up back in his own universe. Apparently, it's two separate universes. Um, Speculation, of course, maybe Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to show up. Maybe it's one of their universes, or perhaps they're going to be in Tom Holland's universe again to meet this universe's Venom. I'm pretty sure none of this is going to be true. I think the closest thing to reality is probably Secret Wars is going to see all three Spider-Man together again, all three Spider-Men together again. I think that's a possibility, a strong possibility, but I don't really think because they're saying Spider-Man 4 is going to have to do with symbiotes. Uh, some people are suggesting it's the Sinister Six finally. Michael Keaton's going to come back as the Vulture. Are we going to get Morbius and some of those other characters like Venom? And I don't know. It's pure speculation at this point. I would probably venture a guess that they don't even know what they're going to do at this point with the Sony verse. All right, so let me know what you think. Are you excited or not about Venom 3, The Last Dance? Okay, we got one more trailer to check out. And this one, you had to have like seen footage from Comic-Con. I think they showed this. Was it? I don't know if it was at San Diego Comic-Con or C2E2 or New York Comic-Con, but I don't think we talked about this trailer that's coming out for Daredevil Born Again. Now, Daredevil Born Again is coming out on March 4th of 2025 on Disney Plus. So if you're not subscribed now, you're probably going to want to be subscribed then by then. Uh, this, of course, returns Charlie Cox to the role that he made his own, Daredevil, from the Netflix shows. Now, again, full disclosure, I was not a fan of the Netflix shows. I was not a fan of Netflix Daredevil, the show. Charlie Cox is good as Matt Murdock, Daredevil. There's no doubt about that. The rest of the cast, of course, is stellar as well. A lot of history to this, but they started shooting the show. They didn't like the way it was coming. They scrapped like 75% of it and started over. And apparently, they brought back Deborah Ann Wall as Karen, and what's his name? Henley, something Henley as Foggy Nelson. So we got the characters back. Vincent D'Onofrio, of course, as the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, and so they tried to do something that's going to hew closer to not only the Netflix Daredevil but comics Daredevil. The story, I mean, the show is called Born Again, but I don't think it's going to have anything to do with the comic book, the graphic novel Born Again. I think that title mostly is just referencing they're bringing Daredevil to Disney's MCU, because the Netflix show was not, it was sort of part of the MCU, but it was like one-sided. It was like Agents of Shield. It was like you can say that you're part of this universe, but nobody in the MCU proper is going to acknowledge you. So that's kind of where that comes from. So in this trailer, apparently we've got some glimpses of what's to come. Wilson Fisk is back, of course. He's out of prison. He's running for mayor, I think. If you haven't seen the TV show Echo, he was brought back in that. Before that, he was in Hawkeye, sort of setting up his character arc for this series. Matt Murdock is apparently defending White Tiger. Now that's an exciting addition, and I'm glad they started with the original White Tiger. I hate when they start with the second generation of these characters, because the second generation White Tiger is a girl, a woman, and the original White Tiger is a man. And I guess I want to say he's the first Latino superhero in Marvel Comics. If not the first, he is sort of the most prominent, which is sort of a big deal. And he's sort of a vigilante too, and he gets his powers from an amulet that gives him like increased strength and speed and stuff. I think in the comics, I haven't read that in a while. That character pretty much his heyday was like in the late 70s, early 80s, which is kind of my favorite era of comics. But he's in this, and he's apparently a vigilante, and he's in trouble. He's in jail, and Matt Murdock is going to represent him. Uh, the villain of the piece. Well, we get a glimpse of Bullseye. He's going to show up, but he doesn't have the costume yet. I'm like, oh, please, will you just give the man the costume? How many years are going to go by? How many appearances is he going to make without the damn costume? Anyway, but I think with the MCU, you're probably going to get the costume eventually. So I'm holding out hope anyway. There's that. But we just see him regular. I think he's in jail as well at this point. And we get a glimpse of the Punisher. Punisher, a bearded John Barenthal, is back as the Punisher. I don't know to what extent he's going to be in the show. I hear they're already setting up a second season, so they expect this one to do very well, which is good. I really want to see, probably not so much in the series, but like in maybe Spider-Man 4 or Secret Wars or something. I really want to see Daredevil interact with some of the MCU characters at large, because all they had him interact with so far was She-Hulk, and that show was not really good. But it looks like there's some violence. It looks like there's some, blood, which again, that wasn't something that appealed to me in the Netflix show. Everybody sees blood and guts and they're like, "Oh, wonderful, wonderful author." I don't have that kind of reaction to that. I'm just like, I get nauseous, so I don't really need to see broken bones and severed hands and stuff like that. If you want to have some blood, I mean, that's fine, but I don't really think they need to go that far, and apparently they're going to, because I think Vincent D'Onofrio said they're going to do some things that are going to be, a little gory, a little grim. So hopefully it's not that bad for my stomach's sake, anyway. All right, so let me know what you think. Daredevil Born Again. We're going to have the man without fear grace our TV screens again for the first time in, how long has it been? 5 years, something like that. I don't know. I mean, for his own show. Last Netflix season was probably like 5 or 6 years ago at this point. So let's hope they do old Hornhead right, because my complaints with the original Netflix show is that it's very slow. It's very dry. It's Daredevil is a high flying character. We got a little glimpse of that in the She-Hulk show. He's supposed to be jumping off roofs and fighting a dozen men, and I don't really see that in the Netflix show. It's just like it's very rudimentary stuff of him like punching guys, and he is a world class acrobat. You know what I mean? He's an athlete, and he should be shown as one that's doing this high flying stuff. And I don't think they did that justice to him in the Netflix show. But of course, with the budget that Disney has, I'm sure they'll be able to do a good job here. All right, so let me know what you think about Daredevil Born Again, coming to a screen near you in March. All right, so this was a pretty interesting story. There's very limited information about this. Let me see if I can. Let me go in here. There's very limited information about this, but apparently Henry Cavill has been cast, not as James Bond, mind you, which is a character I think everybody wanted to see him play for the longest time. They wait so long to cast their James Bond. I mean, Henry Cavill is going to be what? What is he now? He's like 40 or something. I don't know what they're waiting for. But he's gone from playing the Man of Steel to now he's going to be playing a member of the Voltron Force, apparently. I don't really know how this goes. I don't know what character he's playing, but let me read the copy here. Amazon MGM Studios has confirmed Henry Cavill will be leading the live-action Voltron movie. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Cavill will be joined by new face Daniel Quinn Toy, a West End star who made a notable impression opposite Tom Holland in Romeo and Juliet. And no, I don't believe he played Juliet. It will be shot this fall in Australia. The movie is based on the popular 1980s anime Voltron, Defender of the Universe. Quinn Toy has no film credits. His choice shows that the team wants to balance old familiar faces with new talent. For Quinn Toy, this is something that he needs to prove himself with as a newcomer in this kind of film, while his integration into the cast will illustrate the chemistry between him and Cavill. All right. So, I don't know. I mean, is he playing the star of this? I don't know. I mean, I said on Twitter, Keith is the star, is the head of Voltron, and I always thought of him as sort of like looking like Rick Springfield or David Cassidy. He kind of looks like that to me. I think Cavill looks more like a Sven. He can get him with the Swedish accent already, and see how he does with that. I guess Sven was kind of buff and kind of looked like a leading man. Keith was kind of like your average guy, the average build, and not really muscular and strong looking. And then of course you had Lance. But see, the problem is what kind of version of Voltron are they using? Are they using the original Japanese version? Is that why they have like an Asian actor here? Because Keith is going to be Asian, and so they're going to try to. I don't know. See, I don't understand that, because they act like, well, we have to make the actors Asian because it's an anime, but then the anime characters all look like. I mean, for instance, like Sailor Moon. If you do a live action Sailor Moon, are you going to cast an Asian actress? Because she's got blonde hair and blue eyes. I don't really know how they do that, but they act like, oh no, it's a anime property. It's got to be Japanese actors or something. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't really know who any of these characters are going to fill. I mean, they could make Cavill Zarkon for all I know. I don't know. But again, are they going with the Netflix version? That's another thing because the Netflix version stunk. We had Trans Pidge, we had Alora looking like a goofy alien. I don't. It's terrible. It was terrible. I couldn't get past. I watched like the first season, and I was amazed I made it that far because it really wasn't good. It was no good. But again, I'm a big Voltron fan. I mean, I had all the vehicles and action figures and stuff when I was a kid, so hopefully they do justice to it and do sort of the '80s version, the original '80s version. I know they kind of tamed it so that it wasn't too potent for kids. If you watch that show, the reruns of the actual '80s show, I swear there was like 60% of the episodes ended with Alora kissing Lance. And it was like because they couldn't show the ending because somebody was like getting killed or tortured or something, and you couldn't. That wouldn't fly in the mid '80s in American broadcasting standards and practices. So as a kid, I always grew up thinking, Alora liked Lance best, that she would probably fall in love with Lance, and then later on, I guess when she's like starting to show feelings for Keith, I was like, that came out of nowhere. Wasn't she always kissing Lance at the end of the shows? That was really funny. I don't know. But again, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I know there's some news about the He-Man movie or something they're making. I've got to look into that, but I had enough stuff to talk about today, so I really don't know how this is going to shape up. I hope they're using the right version as a reference. That's all I know. But let me know what you think about this. Are you excited about a Voltron live action movie? Are you excited that Henry Cavill will be a part of said movie? Let me know in the comments below. All right. Coming up on 45 minutes, and we still have the top story to talk about. We'll do one more story before we get into our memoriam here, because this was also a big story that came out. Big, really big story that came out not too long ago, as a matter of fact. Now, they cast for the TV series Lanterns, they cast their Green Lanterns. Let's see. Kyle Chandler will play Hal Jordan, and Aaron Pierre will play John Stewart. Now, I don't think this is a bad idea. I don't really know these actors that well. Kyle Chandler, he's been around in things. I don't know, but he looks the part. He looks the part. That's all you have to do with me is look the part, and I think you'll probably do all right. Um, Aaron Pierre, he looks the part of John Stewart as well. I mean, he looks just like the animated version. If you watched Justice League Unlimited or whatever it was called back then, he really looks like him. He's got the eyes already lighting up. You don't even need, special effects. He was on Krypton. I remember that. Um, Kind of a thankless role. He didn't really function into it too much. Um, so I mean, I'm kind of familiar. Good actor. All right, so let's see. DC Studios here. Let's see. This is the synopsis. Now get this. This is what the show is going to be about. Lanterns follows new recruit John Stewart and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. Sounds like a little ditty about Jack and Diane. Two intergalactic cops are solving murders in the heartland. I don't know. I mean, is that what you want in your Green Lantern show? You want to have a murder mystery in the heartland? I mean, it feels like the synopsis for CW Lanterns, right? It sounds like this. If they had a Green Lantern show on the CW, this is what it would be. Now it gets better. Listen to more of the synopsis here. Hal's love interest is the town's sheriff, Kerry Keene. John does get into an affair with a older woman named Zoe. She's a Native American woman and the only person of color in an all-white town. Zoe's married to a businessman named Dylan, and he's described as one of the antagonists of the series. Not sure if any of these are code names or not. So we've got Hal in love with Kerry Kane, and whatever happened to Carol Ferris? I don't know. I mean, I don't. And John Stewart has an affair with an older woman named Zoe, a Native American woman to boot. I don't know. You know what I mean? This sounds like CW tripe. You know what I mean? This doesn't sound like something I signed up for. I signed up for excitement with Green Lantern, and it's what are they trying to bring it into a CW format for? I don't understand that. The only thing I can think of is that Ryan Reynolds movie so scarred the psyche of the Warner Brothers executives that they are so gun shy to give us another Green Lantern intergalactic show, kind of like what I was saying earlier. They gotta climb the ladder. First, they gotta show, yeah, people are interested in Green Lantern. Then they gotta show, all right, it's gonna make enough money that we can take it into space. And then they gotta show, all right, we want to do the big budget movie now with Hal Jordan and John Stewart. And it's like, why this progression? Just do a damn Green Lantern movie, man. Green Lantern Corps. Now, I like that they're starting, they're starting with Hal and John, which in a way I would rather they start with Hal because this is obviously not going to be an origin movie. We got that with Ryan Reynolds, I guess, and they don't want to, tread that ground again. I don't know why they wouldn't go back and try that again, but all right. So this is kind of more an origin for John Stewart. Okay, I got you there. But I don't really know. You know what I mean? It's like, why do you want to stay away from the core? I mean, they're not going to go to OA. They're not going to have the little blue-headed guys and the council. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, this is not that appealing. I'll be honest with you. Um, it says here in the copy, it's quickly becoming clear that Lanterns will be far more grounded than 2011's Green Lantern. While we imagine the show is going to spend at least some time on Oa, the majority of this story is likely to be spent on Earth with a true detective style murder mystery. As for why Hal and John would get involved, the victim may be a Green Lantern Corps member. All right. So we've got three main Lanterns cast now. We've got Hal Jordan, we've got John Stewart, and we also got Guy Gardner. So our Lantern Corps is shaping up, and let's just hope that, like I said, they're not going to be afraid to put the foot on the gas. I really hope they're going to go with the Lantern costumes. I have a very bad feeling about this that they're not. I have a bad feeling that they're just going to go, you know, as minimalist as possible, quite honestly. I mean, Guy Gardner's costume in Superman, the movie that they're making now, I guess this could have just called Superman, not Superman the movie, because that was the 78 movie. That was really underwhelming as well. And so I really hope they're going to do justice to the Green Lantern costumes. I mean, it doesn't have to be all souped up like the Ryan Reynolds one, but at least give them, you know, something reminiscent of the costumes from the comics. He needs to have the domino mask, for instance. I am not going to accept a Hal Jordan without the domino mask. I mean, come on. He needs it, especially on Earth. If he's going to be on Earth, where everybody and their brother knows who he is, I mean, I imagine he wants to keep his identity secret when he's going to do his daring do on Earth. Now, maybe on Oa, it's a different story. I don't know. I don't know if they keep their identity secret there. But again, I am looking at this one cautiously and hoping it's going to turn out rather well at the end of it all. At the end of the day, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we will move on now to our in memoriam segment. I got a couple of people that I want to eulogize. Of course, the first and foremost is the big man himself. Farewell to the king. James Earl Jones passed on at the age of 93, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. And it's very sad because, it's a part of our collective childhood, again, is being taken away from us. And, James Earl Jones, of course, the legendary voice, that voice could not be replicated, could not be duplicated. And whenever anybody has tried, they've failed miserably. And in a way, he's left us with the legacy of his voice for Darth Vader because that they signed the agreement or whatever for him that nobody else would ever play the voice of Darth Vader, only him through digitalized recreation, you know, AI, I guess, in other words. They used that kind of digital recreation for the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. So that was technically James Earl Jones's voice, though fed through a, processor or something. But again, a phenomenal actor, an accomplished actor. He gave Darth Vader his voice. He gave him his soul, so to speak. Of course, David Prowse has already passed on, who was the body, the physicality of Darth Vader. Took more than just one man to perform Darth Vader. Also, Bob Anderson, I think it was his name, did the stunts. He has passed on his way as well. So none of the Darth Vader actors are alive anymore. If you want to count Sebastian Shaw, who played old Anakin in Return of the Jedi, as well, he passed on. So again, a sad moment of reflection here. James Earl Jones, of course, also known for Mufasa from The Lion King, also a big part of everybody's childhood. He was in Conan the Barbarian as Thulsa Doom, another big role. He got a start back in the 70s. And it's kind of hard to believe. I mean, he's one of those guys that look like, he was like born 60 years old. He always looked like, you know what I mean? It was like one of those things. And when you see some of those things he did in the 70s, like as a young man, it kind of throws you for a minute. He was in The Great White Hope, which is a good movie. The story of Jack Jones, I believe, the boxer, if I remember his name correctly. Consummate actor. He did comedy. He was in a lot of comedy bits in the 80s and so forth. So I mean, he was not shy to lend his talents wherever he could. And story goes, of course, he was a bad stutterer in his youth as a child, and he overcame his stuttering to become, the voice of a legendary character like Darth Vader. So he became known for his voice instead of it being a disability. And he was a very generous man too. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him. I mean, obviously he was a very generous man. I remember reading that he always gave autographs. When people are nowadays celebrities, they're all so full of themselves and they're like, I'm not going to sign this. It's going to wind up on eBay and stuff like that. And James Earl Jones said, my autograph is worth 10 cents. He literally said, he says, I'll sign for anybody. That's, in my opinion, that's the way you should be. The fans made you what you are. And if all it takes is a signature to make them happy, then why not? And a lot of stars for some reason resent that. It's like, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that are obnoxious. They want you to sign like 15 pieces of memorabilia, and then you can just imagine that they're not keeping that all for themselves. But I mean, for honest folks, there really is no reason not to be generous. And James Earl Jones was generous to a fault. And I remember him saying as well that he took great pride in signing autographs alongside David Prowse, because he was always the first to say that it wasn't just him that made Darth Vader tick, that you needed David Prowse. And he even, I remember, went so far as to say that he's basically a sound effect. You know, that's just him being humble, I'm sure, because, his performance is really what brought out a lot of that, particularly in Return of the Jedi. Now, that's my favorite movie in the Star Wars saga, but he brought a lot of human emotion to a character that heretofore was thought of as being just an emotionless robot, and he brought so much of himself to that part. And another thing I remember was he always insisted on, from interviews that I've seen many interviews with him, and read many interviews in print, but he always said that he asked for line readings, which a lot of actors for some reason don't. They don't want to be told. They don't want to be directed. They don't want to be told how to deliver a line. But James Earl Jones wasn't like that. He was also wanted to be in service of the character he was playing. He didn't think himself like, I'm going to put my spin on this and it's going to be right because I'm doing it. But he wanted the director to direct him. He wanted to be told, how do you want this to play? Don't just throw me out there and expect me just to know what you want me to do. And so that was, of course, I think, a very honest thing that a lot of people think so much of themselves. They think, they think of themselves more than the service to the part. And, it takes more than just the actor to serve the part. You need the director, you need the writer. And, he was also very conscientious of that. And it's funny because just this past summer, I watched him in from the 70s. It was I think it was a, I think it was like a PBS taping of King Lear, where he played the title role of Lear. And again, this is a man in his 40s playing King Lear, who most actors don't play Lear until they're like 70 or something, late 60s perhaps. And he was magnificent in it. You can see clips of it if you don't want to watch the whole thing. Although I would recommend the whole uh, teleplay, or however you want to describe it. But again, just that masterful voice, uh, doing Shakespeare, you can't go wrong. And it had a few other stars in the cast. I think blanking on the names of them right now because it's been a couple of months since I've seen it, but it's on YouTube. You can easily just search James Earl Jones King Lear, and you're sure to see it. So again, the accomplished actor, the accomplished man, the accomplished personality, James Earl Jones. We remember you with fondness. You will be missed, and we thank you for the enduring legacy that you gave us, uh, specifically us Star Wars fans, because you know we wouldn't have had Darth Vader the way we had him without you. And I think George Lucas said that he was actually going to go with Orson Welles at first, but of course, thankfully, I think Welles he decided against it because he didn't want a known actor doing the voice of Darth Vader, and so he picked an unknown, which of course was James Earl Jones. So again, thank you, James Earl Jones, and may the force be with you always. All right, so a couple other things here. I did want to mention quickly here. Chad McQueen passed on. Dutch from the original Karate Kid. Now this is sad because I was always hoping that he was going to show up in Cobra Kai at some point, and sadly, they said that he was going to show up, and they had planned something for him in the sixth season. I guess this is the sixth season now. But I guess again, I didn't really follow his career too much. I guess he was a car racer enthusiast, and he had been kind of injured in that profession, and he wasn't sure that he was like up to snuff to play a character like Dutch again in his physical condition. And it's sad because they were going to bring him in. They said that Dutch was in jail, which was probably that was probably the best. The two characters that I always imagine when you say what happened to Dutch and also what happened to Clever Lang, I think the answer is always they're in jail. You know what I mean? Those characters, I don't think. I mean, you could pull a Chosen like they did with Chosen, and that guy was like the baddest of the bad boys, and now he's like this endearing, warm and cuddly character. I mean, you could have done that with Dutch. You can do that, I guess, with Clever Lang. I don't think so. I think you keep them as bad boys and tough SOBs. And at least that's, I guess, the way we're gonna remember Dutch, that he was in prison during all the incidents of Cobra Kai. If you look at this photo, it cracks me up because you can see like the outline that looks like a very dodgy wig he's wearing. You could almost see the outline of the glue. I don't know for sure if that really is a piece, but looking at this picture, I kind of can see that it is. But again, Dutch was the baddest of the bad boys of Cobra Kai, OG Cobra Kai. And again, it's sad that he passed on so young. I think was he like 63, something like that. And two members of Cobra Kai passing on already. You know, the OG Cobra Kai. Again, very sad. Um, who's the other one that passed on? Was it Bobby? I don't know, but you know, it marks the end of a legacy that we were hoping to see in Cobra Kai, and so rest in peace, Chad McQueen. All right, and finally, before we wrap up for the evening, I've got one more piece of business here we're going to talk about. Now, this actually happened last year, and I wasn't aware of it, unfortunately, but the passing of Lara Parker, who played Angelique in Dark Shadows, the original Dark Shadows, the soap opera. And I felt really sad when I heard this. I didn't know that she passed on, and this was a year ago. And just recently, as a matter of fact, I was looking at some of my old videos. And again, if you search YouTube and you search my videos, you can find I did sort of I don't know, 40 minutes, I think, on my ruminations about Dark Shadows and the show and how I enjoyed it and the storylines I liked and the storylines I didn't and some of the characters and this and that. But Laura Parker was a big part of the show. She was a very important part, alongside, of course, Jonathan Frid, Grayson Hall, and she brought a lot of humanity to a character that was just devoted to wickedness. You know what I mean? She was the only one that could play that character and play it so well that you kind of felt something for Angelique. And I think I even said in that when I was talking about Dark Shadows, I felt like Angelique, at least the way Laura Parker played her, she was a character like all she needed was a hug from the right guy. It felt like she just needed her fella. And when he turned his back on her, and for pretty much the bulk of the series, Barnabas just turns his back on her, and she gets more and more vindictive because of it. And it's like, if you know, just treat her right, Barnabas, you know, you won't have so many headaches if you do it that way. But, you know, he doesn't have eyes for her, at least at the very end, they kind of suggest that he did, but then I think that was after she died in the show for the last time. I mean, they probably could have brought her back again, but then the show went into like a parallel universe or something, which was kind of I wasn't too fond of that. They made him Bramwell, and they tried to make like a gothic love story type thing. I think it was to satisfy Jonathan Frid, who was getting tired of playing Barnabas at that point, and they were like, "Well, we'll give you a completely different character, and you know, we'll do some different storylines." But it really wasn't the same, and the show was canceled not too long after they started doing that, tried doing that. They did movies, of course, the House of Dark Shadows, which I was not really very fond of. Again, I talked about this before, because they went like sort of in a direction of just making him like a hammer villain, Barnabas. They didn't really make him, you know, the multi-layered character that he had been on the show. He was like the first reluctant vampire. He didn't want to be a vampire. He wanted to be cured. He wanted to be human again, as he had started out being before Angelique put the curse on him. And when they did the movie, it was like completely the opposite. He was just being the mustache twirling villain, the stereotypical vampire that just wants to bite and pillage his way throughout the main coast, you know. And they so Laura Parker's Angelique was not part of that movie, but they brought her back for the second movie. The reason why she wasn't in it, her or David Selby, who played Quentin Collins, was because they had to hold down the fort. Because for several months during the shooting of House of Dark Shadows, they still had the TV show to do, and they didn't have too many actors from the original cast, and they had to put a couple of heavy hitters on the TV series while the movie was being shot. So they held back Laura Parker and David Selby to I don't know what characters they were playing during that point. but to keep the show going. So they made it up to them by giving them a movie, Night of Dark Shadows, which had nothing to do with the previous movie, uh, House of Dark Shadows. And it was a completely original tale, which was all right. I mean, I think they used the name Angelique again. I seen it once, and I was not particularly fond of it, but it probably, if you want to see Laura Parker showcased outside of the TV series, this is probably your best bet to see her in a movie because I don't think she was in a couple other things. I suppose I haven't seen them, but I mean the pickings were kind of slim for her after Dark Shadows. She very famously played Laura Banner, David Banner's wife, in the Incredible Hulk pilot, which is something that I probably seen her in before I even watched Dark Shadows. But it was a non-speaking role. It was basically the flashback slash nightmare David Banner has Bill Bigsby in the series at the beginning of the movie, the pilot movie. And she was very upset about the fact that they didn't credit her with that in the credits. She didn't get a screen credit for that. And from what I remember, she was very upset about that. Understandably so, because she was the impetus of that whole show. You know what I mean? David Banner became the Hulk because of Laura Parker, and she never got really the screen credit for that. And I guess because of that, very, I don't think they didn't go back to her character at all, which I think was also a mistake. What they did on the Hulk was they had him marry um what's her name? Marriott Hartley, and that sort of became his de facto love interest in the series. It was like, oh, always remembering Carol and so on and so forth. I would have liked to have had Laura Parker play Laura Banner in like some flashbacks. That would have been cool because like I said, she was really the impetus for this whole thing. And if the show was made now, they probably would do something like that. But that wasn't like what you did back then. It was like you were always going forward. You didn't really go back and the next episode really didn't have much to do with the one before that. Basically, except for Jack McGee finding out that the Hulk changes into a man in the Mystery Man two-parter. Not much changes over the course of that show. Excuse me, before I lose my voice. But again, so that was another big part of her career, and I think going back and watching, I like to watch some of the episodes during Halloween, and one of the best storylines for her was when she played Cassandra, and she was going to marry Roger, and Barnabas obviously knows it's her, but the rest of the family doesn't because this is the first time she comes back from the past, and that was probably the best storyline, and that was, of course, the Adam storyline, which kind of kind of overstayed its welcome, but at that point, it was pretty interesting. Of course, Laura Parker went on. She was kind of hoping that Dark Shadows was going to launch her into some greater stardom, but unfortunately, didn't really happen. And what she ended up doing, though, was becoming a writer, which was not only good for her, but for the character, because she wrote several books. I believe at least three, chronicling some of the backstory and some of the history of Angelique as she saw it, at least. And that's always fun. I always like it when the actor can do that, kind of like William Shatner. And, after his character died, he kind of gave Captain Kirk like a whole new lease on life, if you will, by doing post generations novels. And in the same way here, Laura Parker sort of kept the Angelique spirit going by uh, writing these stories about Angelique. And of course, finally, she did return to voice the character in several radio dramas. Um, I've listened to some of them. It kind of, I kind of think you need Barnabas. I don't really think he came back, Jonathan Frid, but it was really fun though to hear her voice and her playing Angelique again, and David Selby and all those guys. And I think the last thing that she did, I do remember hearing this about a year ago or so. I'm not sure it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but they did a Christmas Carol with the cast, the remaining, you know, cast of Dark Shadows, playing different roles of A Christmas Carol. And so I remember hearing her in that, and she had a big part in that, which was good. So again, lovely Laura Parker, we thank you once again for being the witch that everybody loved to hate and hated to love, Angelique. So I believe she was 84 years old, passed on after a battle with cancer, I believe. Again, not coincidentally perhaps, but around Halloween, her birthday and her date of passing. So we remember Laura Parker. All right, so that is probably going to do it for tonight. I think I kept you guys long enough. I think I've kept you guys around here a lot longer than you expected to be. If you have any comments or questions or topics you want to see me cover, make sure you post them in the comments below. Uh, Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Do all those wonderful things that all you wonderful people love to do. Hit the bell for notifications, as they love to say. Make sure you check us out on Odyssey. Like I said, I would really love to have some followers there and some views there. So make sure if you're not subscribed there, I got to put a link to that down below too. I got to make sure I do that. Like I said, check out the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, my pride and joy, my baby. We've got another issue coming out, hopefully at the beginning of next year, if I can get it done. We're going to do a show, hopefully in the near future, where I can show some panels and some of the work on it that I've been doing, talking about some of the characters. We're going to get to that, I hope. And I hope I'm going to be able to do some more, you know, uh, live shows in the future. If not live, then perhaps I'll try to do some videos, but something. I'll try to get something up here. I'm not going to let this channel lay dormant for 2 months again, God willing. Uh, we're going to try to keep the train rolling. So until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.